Straight talk from Israel. You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.
Well, Israel is entering its second wave of the coronavirus, and I'm going to be talking today just with you. It's only you and me today, no guests. I'm going to be talking to you about after Corona's second wave. Get ready for the third wave, and I'm not talking about Corona, and it actually shouldn't be the third wave. It should probably be the 331st wave. And I'm talking about anti-Semitic uprisings, people, and when the anti-Semites come after the Jews, it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time until places around the world that are suffering from the aftermath of the coronavirus, that are suffering from the results of the hit to their economies and perhaps loss of jobs, businesses, and add to that now a lot of the rioting that's taking place, not just in the United States, but in other pockets of the world, and it could spread, where these anarchists are coming up and wanting to destroy, so in their minds they can rebuild. And what does destroy mean? It means burning down your businesses, destroying their history. And then, of course, as it always is, I'm not making this up, it's always like this. Look in history. It's always the Jews' fault in their minds. The Jews are always blamed. So I'm going to be talking about this. I started talking about it yesterday on my show, and I want to continue this. And if you have any comments or questions, feel free to call in and agree or disagree. I want to also put out a request for all of you who listen to the station, who love the station, to consider joining us and supporting us so we can continue to grow here at IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com. There are so many people who love Israel News Talk Radio. I've gotten letters that they go to bed at night listening to us, that they're addicted to us, etc. And we have a lot of people, a lot of patrons who help support us. But I'm going to ask even more of you, if you haven't given yet, if you would consider to keep us here alive and strong. And I'll see you on the other side.
Always challenging the status quo. Hello, I'm Rod Bryant on Beyond the Matrix here at IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com. I want to encourage you to listen each week, every Wednesday at the same time, for an amazing show that will challenge you, inform you, and inspire. News, views, and wisdom for the nations here on IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com. Don't forget, Beyond the Matrix every week, Wednesday, here on IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com.
All right, we're back here at the Tamar Yonah Show on IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com. We're living in the year 2020. We're supposed to be smart. We're supposed to be mature. And I wouldn't expect a future if you'd asked me even just 5 years ago if we would be ending up in a situation that we are today. And I'm not just talking about the pandemic, I'm talking about the behavior of people and the values and morality of people. 2020, where we're supposed to be so sophisticated, we have technology, we have history behind us, which, by the way, is being erased. History, at least in the West, is being erased. People today in the United States taking down statues, not teaching history in schools, people don't even know how their government exists, with about the three branches of government in the United States. These are fundamental things that when I grew up, everybody learned and everybody knew. When you erase history from a culture, then that culture forgets its roots, and you can pretty much mold that culture into anything that you want. You can tell them, well, read the book 1984. Go watch other movies. Fahrenheit 451, was that? God, I don't even remember the name anymore. Where they would burn books. You weren't allowed to read, because if you read, you would know history, and you would also have ideas in your head. And people don't want us to think today. To control a population, you need to control their thinking. Because if you have people in your population who are thinking of rebelling because they don't like the garbage they're shoving down your throats, sadly, this is what we're seeing today. And always, 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 it ends up that the Jews are attacked and that people make it the Jews' fault. You know, we've been called capitalists. The Jews are all the banksters. I think we even have a listener here that calls into the station, talks about the banksters, and he's implying the Jews. The Rothschilds. Let me tell you something. If you ever hear anything about the Rothschild family today, they're not even Jews today. They've assimilated out. They've all married out. Their kids are not Jewish. So don't try to tie the Rothschilds and their family and whatever they're doing today to the Jewish people, because they're not Jews today. But in any case, doesn't matter. You've got the Rockefellers, you've got the Carnegies, also the, what do they call the CFR? The Carnegie, Fords, and Rockefellers. That's what they're saying. Also New World Order, etc., etc. Are any of them Jewish? No. Ford was an anti-Semite. Carnegie, not Jewish. Rockefeller, not Jewish. Rothschilds today, not Jewish. It's going to end up at the doorstep of the Jews, because people who want to are going to blame us for everything. We've been the capitalists. We've been the communists. The Jews are capitalists. No. The Jews are communists. No. Can't win. What are we? Right? Well, what are we? What is anybody? Some people are. Some people aren't. Some people don't care. Most people don't care. They just want to have a nice life where they can have their chicken in the pot and then their cars in the driveways. I forget how that saying goes. But the Jews always get it. And in fact, even on the news, they already had an implication where one of these demonstrators, I believe it was Black Lives Matter, but I'm not sure, but it doesn't even matter if it was BLM or not. These anarchists are saying that they're next going to go to the Diamond District if their demands weren't met. And they were saying also that people who are calling the police, I'm not talking about Jews, I'm talking about every citizen who had businesses in these hot zones where the protesters were, they were calling the police. Their businesses were being set on fire. They were being broken into and looted. And the police didn't come. Look what happened. Was it Fifth Avenue? I don't even remember. In New York, where big stores, huge conglomerate stores, expensive stores that paid a lot of taxes to be in those places in that part of the city, and the police didn't come. If the police are not coming to protect their Tiffany's and their expensive stores, etc., then they're not going to come to protect some Jewish neighborhood. They're not going to risk their lives. They're afraid, or they've been ordered to stand down. And they always look to the Jews. It's the Jews' fault. And how many times, I'm just wondering if any of you are thinking, Tamar, you're exaggerating. You're being dramatic. You're making this up. It's not that bad. I'm not making this up because this has happened again and again and again. Because I do know my history. And if any of you know your history, you know I'm right. Whenever there was a plague back in Europe, guess who they blamed? The Jews. When there's a financial crisis, guess who they blame? The Jews. They blame them either because they say that we're capitalists or they say that we are communists. Never mind that the Jews were locked in ghettos for hundreds and hundreds of years in Europe, maybe more. What kind of big influence could we have? Doesn't matter, though. I'm gonna repeat what I said in the last part of my show the other day, and that is that if your family had a disease that was inherited from grandfather to father to son, and all of a sudden you started seeing symptoms in yourself, would you not say, uh-oh, the disease has now taken root in me? I know about this disease because my father died from it, my grandfather died from it, and now I'm showing the same signs. I better get medical help immediately. And if it's something that can be cured by surgery and cutting it out, then I better do that right now and not wait. Today you have people dying from cancer in the, you know what? I didn't have my coffee this morning and my mind's just a fog. They're dying from the polyps that grow inside your intestines, and you get a check, a colonoscopy. Today we can get colonoscopies and we can check to see that we don't get this cancer. Technician, if you remember the name of the cancer I'm trying to think of, let me know. Or people in the chat room. My father-in-law passed away from this, but my brain's a fog this morning. So I'm going to depend on the people in the chat room. But today we say, we have these polyps. We have to go and get them removed because if we don't, they're going to turn into cancer and then we're going to die. Colon cancer. Thank you, Tamar. I reminded myself. You see the signs of colon cancer, you're going to go in and do radical surgery and get those things out. And that's what the Jewish people need to do. Today, when we see the signs of anti-Semitism going on, and it's going to raise even more, what we've seen yet is just right now a taste. We have to do radical surgery, and that radical surgery is extracting ourselves out of these places and coming home to Israel. Israel News Talk Radio is going to be adding 2 new shows to its lineup coming in the next couple of weeks, God willing. You're going to hear 2 new talented show hosts coming on, and they're going to be talking about returning to Israel, coming home. There is a plethora, there is a mass interest now of Jewish people to extricate themselves from the exile, which has been a curse for the last 2,000 years, and moving home to Israel. It's just not safe anymore outside of Israel. Who's going to protect you? Your tax dollars already, we've seen, is not working. The police aren't coming or can't come. Who's going to protect your house from being set afire? Who's going to protect your businesses from being set afire? Who's going to protect your rights? There's so much to talk about. You know, this show's not even going to be enough, and I'm alone. What happens when down the line you want to move and you can't because you can't even sell your house anymore? We can talk about that too. So much to talk about. I'm going to continue reading the letter in the next. It wasn't a letter; it was a piece that someone wrote. Very, very powerful, telling the Jews what they can expect, and I agree with it. Very, very powerful, and feel free to comment. Our chat room is open. Love to see you there. Say hello, and we'll be right back.
Shalom, everybody. Making a difference often takes just one moment and one person at a time. I am Orly Benny Davis, your show host on Israel News Talk Radios from Jerusalem with Love. You'll be hearing people talking about politics, religion, social issues, and making a better tomorrow. Join me, Orly Benny Davis, for God and Country. From Jerusalem with Love.
Wednesdays on Israel News Talk Radio.
All right, we're back here at the Tamar Yonah Show on IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com. And I'm talking today about erasing history, but in spite of that, we need to remember our past. And the anti-Semitism is growing, and it's not going to stop growing. It's going to get worse and worse and worse, and people have to wake up. We do have a caller. I want to say that we have listeners from all over the world. It's a joy to see you here. Let me just go through a few countries right now. I don't know who you are. I can't pinpoint you, but your countries do show up, and it's a pleasure. I'm looking at people listening in from all over the United States, from Israel, of course, Canada, the United Kingdom, Sweden, Malaysia, Jamaica, Japan, Italy, Saudi Arabia. That's really cool. Hi, our friends in Saudi Arabia, and other places as well. But let's go to a caller now. We have joining us, is it William? William from the UK. Hi, William. What's your comment or question?
All right, Tamar. You say Rockefeller and the Rothschilds aren't Jews. They might not be practicing the religion, Tamar, but they are Zionists.
I can guarantee you that the Rothschilds today and the Rockefellers are not Zionists.
Tamar,
these are people who are egoists.
They're funded the Israeli parliament. How can you possibly say they're not Zionists?
Again, say what you said. I didn't hear you.
The Rothschilds funded the Israeli parliament. How can you say they're not
The Israeli
Zionists?
parliament was built decades ago. Okay, the ones that are alive and working today, they're not Zionists. And also, it's very hard to just what's the word? Group one sort of people together and say they're all like this. You can't do that anyway. But in any case, I don't see anything being built here in Israel today that is by the Rockefellers or Rothschilds or Carnegies or anybody.
You talk about anti-Semitism.
Yes.
But you've got to think that the Gentiles, and a lot of Gentiles believe, and I believe it to be true,
yes,
like the Epstein case, where Mossad was blackmailing world politicians with underage boys and girls. Your own prophet Moses says that the last generation of Jews would be a wicked people.
The last generation of the world, and we're seeing it today with people who are trying to confuse other people with a boy thinks he's a girl thinks she's a boy. There's so much confusion in the world. This is what is wicked and evil. But don't try to pinpoint that the Jewish people today, William, are the most moral people. Who is the first country in the world when there is a disaster across the world, an earthquake in Iran, a tsunami or a terrible earthquake in Jamaica and all those places? Who are the people who are on the field there making field hospitals, helping people, saving lives, delivering baby, finding people buried and trapped? It's Israel.
If Israel hasn't
I don't see the UK. I don't see England there doing anything for the Jamaicans or Iranians or anything. This little tiny country, smaller than the state of New Jersey, is out there helping people.
So is your own prophet Moses wrong when he says the last generation of Jews would be a wicked people?
Why do you say the last generation just of Jews are the whole world today is wicked?
The last generation. God's coming soon to judge the earth.
God is always judging the earth, and God loves us, and He wants to.
For the final judgment.
And you want to know something?
Do you want to know? Is coming soon.
Okay, I don't know what your personal religious beliefs are, but every day God judges us. We go to sleep, our souls go up to heaven, and in fact, we help judge ourselves.
Tamar, I'm saying final judgment. The last judgment is coming.
Okay, that's what you believe, and that's what many people believe.
And Israelis,
yes,
you say you believe in the Bible. But God says, why does man complain for the punishment of his sins? Antisemitism comes from God. It's a punishment for your wickedness.
For our wickedness. And what is wickedness? It's when we
wickedness.
don't...
A lot of Jews are Zionists, Tamar.
Okay.
There are a lot of good... The truth movement is run by Jews, so don't say I'm anti-Semitic, because I've got a lot of love for the Jews that speak in the truth movement.
Okay, I don't know what the truth movement is. What is the truth? In 10 seconds, what is the truth movement?
The truth movement tells us about the corrupt governments and Israeli control about
the
politicians.
Conspiracy theorists. Okay, all right. Thank you very much, William. I appreciate your call because it shows me what some people are thinking, and I can listen to it. I can listen to it, and I heard it, and I gave you airtime. This is what we're dealing with: people who say that they love the Jews, and maybe they think that they do. They might really think that they do, but then they complain about the Jews, and they don't look at themselves. Where was England? And I want to say today. There's never been more yeshivot and institutes of Torah learning in Israel today than there has ever been in the history of the world. Jewish people are coming back to keeping the Torah. And William is right in one sense that anti-Semitism is something that is illogical and has to be godly. And it happens when the Jewish people are not going the way of the Torah. And you see a lot of Jews today who don't have a Torah education. They don't know about it. And they're going the way of liberal thinking because they love people and they want to help people. But when you have liberalism with no borders and without the correct foundation, it's ultimately going to turn out to be, I'll use his word, wicked, going against the Torah, not what God wants. But if you look at that, the Jews are a very, very small minority. How many Jews are there in the world? He doesn't look at all the other people in these movements who are not Jewish, and they're the majority. They're the majority, but William, our friend, he says is our friend, wants to say that it's the Jews' fault, the Jews' fault, the Jews' fault. Okay. I need to move on from this because I'm going to be reading something that's going to maybe even prove what William says, to prove what he says, because we're going to see. Let me go back to what I was reading yesterday. And this was an article written by, it says here, Hanania Weissman. I got it on my WhatsApp. It's called Why Do Orthodox Jews, these are Torah observant Jews, not the Jews that don't know Torah because they were never given an education, but why do Orthodox Jews want to stay in America? And he's saying here that it's dangerous. And we're seeing what's happening in the streets today. And how many more signals, how many more messages from God do we need in order to show us that we have no future anymore in these places? The exile is over, my friends. The exile where a lot of Jews like to reside, and you're living in a Western country. It's a rich country. You're happy there. You speak the language. You're comfortable. You have your businesses there. They don't want to leave the exile. But God says the time of the exile is over. Our curse is finished. Thank God. And he's given us the land of Israel. We fought off 5 Arab armies, a little ragtag state, people like us after the Holocaust. And we were able to do this, and people have come to live in Israel, and Israel's prospering. Israel is prospering so much that world leaders like U.S. President Donald Trump and Putin in Russia have close relationships with Benjamin Netanyahu, and they value Israel. And we're one of the strongest countries in the world and one of the most innovative countries, if not the most innovative country in the world. It's amazing what we're seeing. And yet, Jews are staying in the exile because they're still comfortable there, and maybe God's making it so they're not going to be comfortable anymore there. I don't know. I'm not going to say I know. I don't know. But I look at history, and I do know what the answer is. And as our good friend Schiffer Hoffman always says, if you're not there, they can't hurt you. So if the Jews are not there anymore in the exile, they can't hurt us there. We become strong when we come home. And look at Israel today. We are strong. We have a wonderful, moral, strong army. And the writer of this article was saying that there are main points that are generally agreed upon today by the mainstream and politically correct narrative out there. He goes on here to say, being proud of America today is a sin. You can't be a patriot anywhere in the world today. It doesn't go with the political correctness of this new generation. Expressing positive feelings about America is grossly insensitive, racist, sexist, even a violent act. Those who do so, those who show that they are proud of America, are liable to lose their livelihoods and be attacked by mobs both online and physically. This is considered an acceptable way for those with hurt feelings to express themselves. In fact, nothing is out of bounds anymore. And by the way, folks, we know that the Orthodox Jews in America greatly support the United States of America, voted for Donald Trump, and shared those values that he speaks about all the time, faith and family. But these Jews now, if they show their love for America, they're going to be condemned. They can be hurt online, and they can be hurt physically. It's not safe anymore to be a patriot. And Orthodox Jews in America are patriots. I'm not living in America anymore, and I appreciate America. Am I not allowed to express that anymore? But I'm not there. Oh, so I can do it. I can say thank you, America. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.
This is Shai Ben-Tekoa, and each week I'll be webcasting to you from Judea, origin of the word Jew, a people besieged and beleaguered in every generation. Nazi Germany's but a memory, but in its place the world invented the phantom Palestinians as this generation's internationally authorized Jew killers. Tune in for a different slant on life in Israel, Phantom Nation, every Monday.
Hi, I'm Rabbi David Aaron. The soul basics are the most profound, the most essential, and yet often the most neglected in our education. Join me for Soul Talk on Israel's News Talk Radio and discover the secrets to love, spiritual growth, and personal power.
All right, we're back here at the Tamar Yonah Show on IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com. And you know, it's already the last segment, and I didn't even barely get to start this article that I wanted to talk about. Why do Orthodox Jews want to stay in America? It was written by Hanania Weissman. By the way, if Hanania is listening to this show, please contact me. I'd love to maybe have you on for a small interview. I appreciate what you wrote here. He's saying here that being proud of America today is a sin. Expressing positive feelings about America is grossly insensitive, racist, sexist, even a violent act. Those who do so, who show appreciation for America, are liable to lose their livelihoods and be attacked by mobs, both online and physically. This is considered an acceptable way for those with hurt feelings to express themselves. In fact, nothing is out of bounds anymore. This puts Jews in an impossible situation. Jews traditionally express appreciation for their host countries. But now, the mob is trashing the very foundations of America. It's difficult enough to toe the line, artfully expressing loyalty to the country while standing in support of those at war with it from within. Meaning those who say we're against racism. You want to join the people who say Jews are also against racism. But we also love America, right? We also love our host country. How much longer, he writes here, can you play neutral and appease everyone? What will you do when you are forced to choose a side? Roughly half of the country would declare a holiday if something unfortunate happened to President Trump. They would dance in the streets. If he were, God forbid, murdered in cold blood, they would praise his killer as a hero. Oh boy, I could just see that happen, couldn't you? Supporting the president of the country in even the slightest way renders one worthy of destruction. If you publicly show support for the president, you are liable to be beaten by a mob. This alone should be enough to make you seriously consider why you, as a religious Jew, would want to live in such a society and raise a family there. This is a very unhealthy society, and it won't have a miraculous healing, regardless of who the next president is. The fact that President Trump is closely associated with Orthodox Jews and has made great gestures of support for Israel only makes your situation more perilous. You're stuck right in the middle, whether you like it or not. Gays, transgenders, women who wish to kill their babies, abortionists, and all those who push the envelope in the endless war on traditional family values must receive unflinching support. Objecting to anything they demand is increasingly dangerous. Orthodox Jews are, by their very existence, ambassadors for God's definition of genders and moral boundaries. It is only a matter of time before they come for you too, even if you want to stay out of that arena. Our sages teach us, who is a wise person? One who sees what is coming. And that's what I was talking about in the beginning of the show. If you know you have some type of disease in your family, you look out for the warning signs, for the symptoms. And that makes us wise. If we ignore it, even though our father died from it and our grandfather died from it, we're stupid. We're fools. Continuing with the article, our sages expect us to see the writing on the wall and act accordingly. The writing on the wall in America is spray painted in graffiti, plastered on social media, and broadcast daily in the news. Expressing hatred for the president, the country, the police, the values that used to be sacrosanct, has become a game of, can you top this? There is nothing like this on earth or in American history, and you should find it incredibly disturbing. Even if your personal safety could be guaranteed, in spite of all the ominous signs to the contrary, is this where a religious Jew belongs? Or any religious person? The United States is in a state of moral decay, societal upheaval, and an internal war for its very soul. Do you need to be in the middle of it? Are whatever material possessions that you can't take with you, if you move to Israel, worth being in the center of this storm that is really only beginning? There is nowhere else in the diaspora or exile for the millions of Jews in America to go. There is only one other option for the frum or for the religious Jew. The exile, the galut, the exile train has reached its final stop. The doors are still open for now. What are you holding on to? It's time to get off the train wreck. If you want a copy of this article, of this piece, I will go and I will post it on my public page, Tamar Yonah. Look for me on Facebook, on my public Tamar Yonah page. I've already reached 5,000 people, so they don't let me add any more friends, so I'm posting now on my public page. Go there, you can find it, you can share it, and please do share it. Jewish people, wake up. You are going to be in the center of this mad time in history, whether you like it or not. Those who already left, who already sold their homes or sold whatever they had and moved to Israel and settled in here, they have, no matter what struggles you have when you move to another country, you have to learn the language, there's a difference in culture, this, this. But it's going to be so much harder for Jews who are going to leave too late, if at all. Today, people are saying, I can't even sell my house. Nobody even wants to buy it. I'm in a neighborhood that's too close to where the mobs are. Or the coronavirus has destroyed people's businesses and people aren't buying houses right now. There's a lot of them are still under quarantine or lockdown. They're not buying houses. What am I going to do? The sooner you sell and get out, the safer, the better it's going to be. Jews who are living in Israel are in our own country with our own army to protect us. We don't have to depend on another entities, police forces to please come and save us Jews. How many times have we heard that, especially in the Holocaust? And the reason I'm so fired up and passionate about this, my friends, is because my father is a survivor of World War II, of the Holocaust. My grandfather and all of their family was murdered. I have so few relatives today because they are all murdered. They went up the chimneys in smoke. We can try to close our eyes. We can try to pretend. We can try to tell ourselves it's going to go away. We just have to tighten our belts and puff up our chests and bite the bullet. But this too shall pass. But this too shall pass didn't work for the Jews in Europe, where, by the way, we were living for thousands of years, for perhaps 1,500 years, 2,000 years, where our ancestors were buried, where our ancestors served in the courts, where we respected, where we did well. Today, Jews only lived in America for maybe 200 and some years. And when people's pocketbooks are touched, they want blood. And they always blame it on the Jews. You're capitalists. No. You're communists. No. You're bloodsuckers. No. You're banksters. You're this. You're that. It's your fault. Get the Jews. Why are they living so well? There's a lot of Jews who are poor, but they're not going to look at the poor Jews. They're going to look at Jews who are doctors and lawyers and have made it, so as they say, have lived the American dream. They're living in nice neighborhoods with good schools. They're very comfortable there. They're going to look at you. You're going to be the enemy. You are going to be in the middle of this. There's no more future for Jews in the diaspora. Come home to your people. Come home to your land. And if your kids don't speak Hebrew, they speak a foreign language like French, Spanish, English, who knows what, you have not done your job. That you cannot speak your own mama lashon, your own language, Hebrew. It shows how we've broken off, how we've been separated for our destiny. Feel free to email me, Tamar at IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com. Thanks for being with us.
Israel News Talk Radio's chat room. Just click the orange button at the top of the Israel News Talk Radio.home page, log in as yourself or an anonymous guest, and join in on the fun. You'll meet other listeners from all over the world who listen to Israel News Talk Radio, and you can make new friends. Israel News Talk Radio's chat room. It's the closest you can get to being in the studio with us.
We love listening to Israel News Talk Radio.
Where can you get the inside news on Israel? At Israel News Talk Radio, we're dedicated to sharing Israel's inside story with the world by providing our listeners with news on Israeli politics, current affairs, and Israeli Jewish culture. The Israel News Talk Radio homepage also provides you, the listener, with useful information at your fingertips, with scrolling news headlines, weather, currency exchange, Shabbat candlelighting times, and so much more. Our radio programming is always accessible and on demand. We operate absolutely free of charge for everyone, everywhere. If you love what we do, partner with us now by becoming an Israel News Talk Radio supporter. With your support, you'll be inscribed on our Israel News Talk Radio Wall of Fame. There's nothing like us in the world. Be part of something great. Israel News Talk Radio. Straight talk from Israel.
If you love Israel News Talk Radio, then you'll love our Facebook page. We keep you up to date on what's happening in Israel, plus little surprise treasures that we don't share on the radio. Go now to follow us on Facebook. Just look for the Israel News Talk Radio Facebook page, and don't forget to subscribe and follow us by clicking on the like button. We post great stuff there that you'll want to share. Israel News Talk Radio on Facebook and Israel News Radio on Twitter.
News, opinion, and more. You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.